I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quite so thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, with this logic you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. Don't never stop competing, yeah.
I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it. You know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic. Keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy. The enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily spreading like a rare disease, but I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this. Freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus. Living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you seek greatness? Trust me, you can take it. Go on and take your aim.
I'm built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the gas, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. Don't never stop competing, yeah.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? Happy Monday. Just got to check and make sure the audio's coming in. Oh, yeah. We are all good to go. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome to the Hive Mind. This is a contrarian thinking live stream where we think beyond the headlines. So if you get rattled or offended on behalf of others when people ask questions about things that just don't make sense, or if you do not like to think critically, this will not be the stream for you. However, if you do, you have found your people. We are going to go beyond the headlines tonight with the Idaho 4 case because the truth doesn't care about feelings. And I have Devil's Advocates backstage, as always, on Mondays. He is a guest on the stream here in the Hive. Very much so. Looking forward to chatting with him this evening. And I'm excited to go ahead and say what's up to everybody that's tuning in right now. What's going on, Bridget? It is about time, isn't it? Welcome. If you're new or if you just started chatting and commenting, thank you. What's going on, Texas Horse Girl? What's Gucci? Catch you on the flip side. LFG is right, Gaia. Sarah Sushi, what up? Susie Smith, first time here in the live. Welcome. Love seeing new faces. Thank you for tuning in. What's going on, Crime Spy? Blue-Eyed Candy, good to see you. Mel, OD, Nicole, hey. Discord, Dawn, tuning in. Donna Speaks Truth. Let's see. Got to scroll down a little bit. What's up, Karen? How are you doing? Janet, Brooke, what's going on? Luna, happy Monday is right. How are you doing, Jennifer? What's going on, Dina? Jojo, Howard, how are you? Scout, Amanda, Donna Speaks Truth. Chantilly Lace with the resting bitch face. I've only ever worn this jersey one time, and it was on the 4th of July, and I feel like it's been long enough since then to wear it again. American flag themed. Johnny Lunch Bucket, El Berdino. I don't know how to say this username, but they're tuning in from Central Texas, Nurshard. Hopefully I was right. Sandra's tuning in from Moscow. The Scotland Hive. Bang, bang, bang. UFO Dog, what up? Creeping from Berdino's basement. That is exactly right, Z. Good to see you. UK Karen tuning in. Devil's Advocate from the backstage says he's finally getting his shit together. Attaboy. How are you doing? Gabby Girl, Christina, Gamble, Pups Lovey, ATL Drew, 767. What up? Tuning in from Portugal. Well, thank you for joining. I always love seeing people outside the states tuning into the Hive. Got quite a few, and it is continuing to grow far and wide. So thank you to everybody who's spreading the word. Oklahoma, Chrissy's sitting in the airport in Seattle. Well, safe travels. That is exactly right, Nick. That it is. And I'm excited. What's up, Carrie? Jojo. Kelly Beans tuning in from Tennessee. Kathy's in North Carolina. Euphoric, good to see you. I was just talking about you the other day. I haven't seen one of your funny locations where you're tuning in. If I've been missing it, my bad, but good to see you. Well, thank you to everybody that is tuning in. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring Devil's Advocates up right away this evening, and we are going to get into it. So sit back, relax. I don't know how much tinfoil you're going to need tonight because this is pretty straightforward when it comes to the truth not caring about feelings. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring up Devil's Advocates right now. Oh, I got to make them a little bit bigger here. My bad. Well, my layout's all jacked up. What up, DA? Let me fix
Good. I'm glad you're as clusterfucked as I am because I've had a rough start tonight.
My bad, dude. Hey, let me get this out here. I have a special layout just for you, and I don't know where it went, but
while you're getting that sorted out, I did want to say I see a lot of people that were saying hi to me in Birdie's chat, so and my chats combined with it, but I appreciate it, and I'm so sorry that I didn't even get a chance to type some stuff. I have been in a cluster over here just getting my sound to work when I had to reboot my computer because I had no sound coming through. So I'm just barely squeaking in. Thanks everybody that was saying hi to me in the early pages, and I wish I could have written back while that was going on, but hey, I'm here now, so we're good.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. And I got to figure this out, dude. I don't know what's going on here.
I'm so glad that somebody else is a mess with the technical stuff tonight. It's a weird night.
Yeah, it is. It's all right. I'll get it figured out, DA. 1 second. I'm just moving us all around here. Get you over here. And I will click the screen and make sure that we are all good.
Kelly Bean. Hello, DA in the Hive. Welcome. Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for saying hi. A lot of people saying hi to me. Thank you so much for everybody saying hi. It's kind of funny. Sometimes when I used to come into Birdie's show, it'd be like, they'd all be like, hey, Phoenix, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm right here though. So people are actually saying hi to me now. So that's cool. So thank you so much for that.
DA, the Hive loves you, brother.
It's hilarious. It's all good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right. I have almost got this set up. Here we go. So anyways, DA, how you been, man?
Oh God, my life is so crazy lately. So crazy. And you heard that I broke my YouTube channel that's been horrendous too. God,
yeah. What the heck happened with that?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know that people want to care about the business side of it, but to be honest with you, all I tried to do was I was trying to get my channel a little bump to try to keep up with the big boys like you. You know, you're passing me so much. I was like, I got to get up there with Birdie. So I'm going to spend a little bit of money. I'm going to promote one of my videos. So I did a poll. And I said, hey guys, what made you start following me? They told me the video. So I thought I'm going to put a little dollars behind it. Could you believe that actually putting money behind advertising my video broke my channel because it told YouTube that I wanted to promote myself instead of them promoting me. So they stopped promoting me. And then they told me that I didn't fill out all the information they needed to prove I was a business. So they just halted everything. And I was getting no growth anywhere. So I've been dead for a week wondering why nobody loves me anymore. My channel isn't growing. It's going absolutely nowhere. And it's still broken. I'm trying to uncluster it. ChatGPT tells me this is a common mistake that YouTubers get into. And I fell for the trap. So holy shit, don't do that. If you're a small channel, don't promote a video unless you know what the hell you're doing.
When you told me that earlier, I was not that I was happy that it happened to you and not me, but it's just like, I did think to myself, like, wow, not many people probably know that. And it's different across all platforms. And I know that obviously from a business standpoint, completely separate from this channel, that if you pay to promote things, that is not organic growth in any way, shape, or form.
Right,
so I'm sure the algorithm does maybe incentivize you then once they're like, hey, this guy's willing to pay.
Right.
You don't got to organically push it. Let's just keep making them pay. So that's good to know. No, that is some.
It's funny because you're hilarious because you and your conspiratorial mind, you're like, why would they do that? Oh, because they're thinking if this sucker's going to pay, then he'll just keep paying if we stop promoting him. And you're probably absolutely right. It's probably like, if that guy's going to pay money, why would we promote him? Let's make him think that he gets no growth unless he pays for it. So
that's exactly right. And it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it totally worked. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thank you for popping up here this evening. I always look forward to Monday nights with you. And as you know, I have the theme kind of as the center picture every time that I share the screen. And this evening's is about the truth doesn't care about feelings. And I believe that that's something that a lot of people can wrap their heads around, but there seems to be a decent number of folks that just cannot understand that when you ask for the truth, you're not victim shaming, nor are you a pro burger, nor do you want to murder to get away with murder. You're not doing anything other than asking questions, especially, and this is what drives me up a wall, is when if it were to come from a mainstream source, and as we know, they were doing nothing but speculating because they didn't have any of the documents either. That's the credible one. Millions of dollars put behind documentaries and books, but little old DA and Birdie can't come on here and say, well, this doesn't make sense. We get crucified sometimes.
Totally. Oh, yeah. I just had somebody today like, what the hell are you doing, man? This case is over. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you doing watching my video then? The case is over. Move on.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. And Nicole, thank you so much for the super chat. It says, watching you has really made me question things. Do you believe justice will prevail or is it a done deal? God, I want to say justice is going to prevail. I have a hive mind find that's going to give people a lot of hope. And I just saw it about 12 minutes before I started this stream, an article that came out that's local. I don't know if you've even seen it yet, DA, but I will get to that within the Hive Mind Finds after a couple of announcements and saying thank you to William. We will keep pushing. The truth will be revealed. I do wholeheartedly believe that. And
by the way, before we get too far, did you see the big dropping news about Karen Laramie filing a restraining order against Moscow Police Department?
No.
Oh God. Yeah. So she has filed a restraining order about them releasing crime scene photos, including her daughter, Maddie. She doesn't want the public seeing it. And so they are stopping that right now. They responded and said, look, we've been responding to legal Freedom of Information Act or public records requests. But now that you filed a lawsuit against us, we will halt that while we investigate. So they're having a legal battle because she doesn't want people seeing the crime scene photos that involves her daughter. So they've put a halt on it, I think.
Well, and that was something that I have said where, like, you know, I can wrap my head around that. Like, I can totally understand not wanting the entire world to see your slain child, right?
Right.
I get that. Do the crime scene photos necessarily, like, with the bodies in it and with not? I don't know. I'm indifferent on that. At the same time, you know, I can see the argument of parents not wanting it out there, but I also can see the argument of people saying, well, what the hell? We're not getting any transparency on anything. And now look at this. It's just another thing that they're not going to let people see, which kind of adds to the kind of what you just said of the deeper thinking of a conspiracy or what's going on that they're covering up. I totally think that that's what's leading to people saying, no, we need to see it. Rather.
It's super difficult because I understand it's got to be extremely painful for the families to have people looking at your family members, you know, final moments. That's got to be horrendous. I understand that. And that's always the problem in journalism, right? Is where does the public right to know meet somebody's personal feelings on the matter? So their personal feelings there, I would prefer you not to look into the graphic photos of my family members' last moments on Earth. But by the same token, investigative journalists can't get to the bottom of things or see inconsistencies or anything like that if everything's hidden and you're not allowed to see it. So where does the public right to know meet the family's desire to not have their shit shown all over the place? And it's a tough question. It's super hard.
It is a tough question. And again, it's kind of one of those questions where I'm not surprised that it's happening in this case. Rather, I'm not surprised that it's going to go that route. And I have a lot of really good Hive Mind finds and slides to dive into, DA, that will go right along with that. Thank you for bringing that up. I had not heard that prior to you just saying that. As a reminder, I have a Discord and a Substack. All of my streams and the platforms that I use are free. All I ask, and the best way for you all to support the stream, is to just click subscribe. Like I said, I keep everything free. I'm working on a night in the Discord where I'm kind of going to steal what you're doing, DA, some nights with the after dark parties. I think I'm going to pick a weeknight where we'll have a set night where I go into the Discord, and Dawn and a few others from the Hive, thank you very much for working on that and getting that set up so we can have a good layout for that. That will be coming in the next couple of weeks. We also have birdiebombshell.com, which we have some awesome merch coming as well in September, and I'm excited to announce that. So there's a little bit of a teaser on those two things. And then, DA, if you want to let people know where to find you.
Yeah, as well. I have a Substack, devilsdocket.substack.com is where that's at, and a Discord channel. In fact, that news that I just told you about at the beginning of the night about the Moscow Police Department lawsuit from Laramie was dropped in my Discord just before the channel. So free Discord channel. Somebody thought one time that they had to pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. Lots of active stuff going on there. So I recommend you check that out as well. Look me at Devil's Advocates on the Discord channel. And one of my mods, I think, in the room will throw a link up for you as well. So thank you for giving me that opportunity as well. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Hive, as a reminder, the submissions and applications for the third ever Hive Mind Roundtable are open. I bumped it up a Sunday. Usually it's the last Sunday of every month, but with Labor Day, I moved it up to this upcoming Sunday, August 24th. I'm going to close that off on Thursday, or rather announce everything on Thursday. So you got about 3.5 days to submit it. I've already got a handful, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go ahead and submit for it. Or if you've submitted in the past, that doesn't mean you can't do it again. So those are always great. The first two have gone amazing. You email me at birdiebombshell00@gmail.com and put the subject line roundtable and then type a sentence or two what you'd like to discuss. Now, the Discord question of the day, I have to play this right away, DA.
Please retrieve your nearest tinfoil hat. Place hat firmly on your head. Prepare yourself.
Now, this question of the day, I believe there's people in here that are either going to absolutely see what this person's trying to say, or there's people that it's going to go right over their head. And if you're just an NPC that's tuning in and not having an open mind, your head might explode. So hold on to it, because Harley Quinn and Diego Girl, they said, we kind of went down an Illuminati rabbit hole yesterday, and I would like to see what the thoughts would be on the comparisons between the Idaho 4 victims and some of the kiddos who passed away, because it's super freaking scary. The mom in the glasses is the mother of the little boy who I believe looks so similar to Ethan. Now, I have an additional slide prepared to make sure that I could blow this up and make it bigger for everybody to see the similarities between these children and then the Idaho 4 victims. And my face kind of melted, because if you've ever looked into things like, you know, the forbidden conspiracy to look into being Sandy Hook and kids being alive, or like the what's the spacecraft one? I always forget the name of that, where the people are still alive.
You're like a Challenger? The Challenger? Yeah, the Challenger. Yeah.
And you kind of see the similarities in people. So this is definitely going to like kind of scratch that itch if you're into that type of stuff. So this is pretty crazy. And I mean, I could see this. I could definitely see that. Now, I didn't get much background as far as, you know, who these kids are, but I believe that these kids were all killed at some point, if I'm interpreting that correctly, yet they showed up as the Idaho 4. Big time conspiracy, big time tinfoil hat, but you guys know how I like to do it sometimes in the hive.
This is how you roll.
Yes. So essentially, yes, that's what I'm saying, that this is like, again, the forbidden theory of crisis actors live amongst us, and they're used by mainstream media to push certain narratives. You know, I don't know. It was an interesting combination of a question of the day and a hive mind find, but
super interesting.
It is super interesting. And then obviously, as I know, all of the sheep are going to come out and say, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, fuck them. But I think that stuff's interesting. So,
it is interesting. It is. And if there's only, you know, I allow, this is my dirty secret, I allow one night a week where I can go a little off the rails when I come on your show. So I mean, you know, and the crisis actors thing, that became, the whole term about crisis actors really became a big deal during the summer of 2022, during the shooting in Sandy Hook, and the whole idea that there was actors that were going in there pretending to be the families of lost victims, and all the allegations that no children actually died, and you were seeing the same kids show up and singing competitions and shit. And you're like, why the fuck is that kid still alive? And that, you know, so it led a lot of people down that. Are they hiring people to do mass psyops in America to think that something happened that didn't happen? So I get it, you know.
Who knows? And again, I'm not even saying I believe this. I'm just saying this is interesting.
Right.
It's interesting that there's a real thing called crisis actors that have existed in the past and have been proven out that they are that. I'm not saying that this is it, but it's thought provoking. And I think it's very interesting to look into. So thank you to Harley Quinn and Diego Girl for that. Now, moving on to the hive mind finds. This next slide is what I was saying is going to give a lot of people some hope, and pertaining to Nicole's super chat that they had sent. So the Idaho Innocence Project director is interested in the Brian Koberger case. This came from Latitude right before I hopped on stream. I just happened to be checking my inbox. They said, I would say the Idaho Innocence Project is very interested in BK case. Greg Hampikian is an American biologist and the founder and director of the Idaho Innocence Project. He is considered one of the foremost forensic DNA experts. Now, I have this article pulled up here. Oops. And you're going to be able to see as I scroll down. So it says local DNA expert outlines details the public missed because of the plea deal for Brian Koberger. Brian Koberger's case, the complex nature of DNA evidence, expert opinions, and ethical concerns surrounding FBI's use of genealogy in criminal investigations. Well, just by reading that subtitle, DA, I feel like this guy's already about to be on top of everything.
Right. Yep.
It's not that long of an article, but I will just I'll kind of scan through here quick and read the main parts. This is on Idaho 6 News, KIVITV.com. So the single source DNA found on the knife sheath of the murder weapon at the Moscow, Idaho crime scene may seem like a slam dunk on the surface. It did, after all, match the DNA of their suspect, Brian Koberger. But Greg says not so fast. We can identify who left DNA pretty well, really well. What we can't tell is how the DNA got there. The state of Idaho, through the crime lab, proffered to the court that they could tell how DNA got somewhere. I very, very strongly disagree with that.
Yes.
Greg, I hate when websites do that shit and they kind of jump all around. Greg says DNA on a Q-tip can be spread to many places where the original donor has been. And even the prosecutor in the Koberger case, Bill Thompson, says Koberger's DNA was only one piece of their puzzle. There's no smoking gun, Thompson previously told senior reporter Don Nelson. But DNA was the key piece of evidence that led law enforcement to Koberger, who years after his arrest voluntarily confessed to the crimes in a last-ditch effort to avoid the death penalty. Thompson explains how genealogy was used. We got a tip via investigative genealogy with the name Brian Koberger, and that enabled the investigators to start focusing on him. And the evidence fell into place pretty smoothly after that. I don't think it did, but in their story it did. Anyways, this article is super interesting. And I just want to say, Greg says there's no enforcement to stop the FBI from using any public genealogical database to track down criminals. If you're okay with that, great. If not, Greg says you may be out of luck. So if this is the practice, those agreements are meaningless in terms of your privacy. And finally, there's the question of how a murder suspect, likely covered in blood, could clean the supposed getaway vehicle of any incriminating DNA. Greg says it would have been difficult and interesting to hear details if case had gone to court. It would have been hard, especially because you use bleach, which leaves stains. And usually trying to clean DNA usually results in spreading it around. But remember, Brian Koberger was pursuing a PhD in criminology, so that guy knows how to get away with everything.
Except for not remembering to leave your cell phone at home when you go commit murders or drink your own car past cameras. But yeah,
and I think Crystal White just hit the nail on the head. It's factual innocence. Which I was thinking about this earlier today. When somebody says factual innocence or they're factually guilty, can you clarify that for everybody?
For me, that was a huge, huge moment when Bill Thompson said from the stand, from the beginning, Koberger and his attorney has always maintained their factual innocence. And I keyed on that word right away. I was like, oh, that's an interesting phrase, factually innocent. And I think what they mean is they knew it was a circumstantial case and the facts would show that he couldn't have done it. But it wasn't becoming about facts. It was a railroad, trial. None of the facts were allowed to come in. They were this DNA thing is what kills me. And it started out in that article. He says, essentially, now there's not going to be a trial, so we're never going to be able to test that evidence. That was one of their big. God, I don't even know how to say this. They knew the DNA evidence wasn't a smoking gun. Bill Thompson admitted the DNA wasn't a smoking gun. And yet everyone in America seems to think, well, of course Koberger did it. They got his freaking DNA at the crime scene. That makes it sound like you think America thinks it's a smoking gun. The people who are the experts know it wasn't a smoking gun. And so would we have loved to have seen that fought out in court? Fuck. I mean, I would have loved to have seen that fought out in court. Guess what? We don't get to have that opportunity because they just pulled the rug under us. And I don't think they wanted us to see the details about how it was done because we would have went, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense, So,
And they sprinkle in little aspects of the truth when it comes to well, there's no guarantee in a trial. And I'm thinking to myself, guarantee to get a conviction? I'm sorry, but most times, if the evidence is I'm talking rather in the way they've portrayed this evidence, you would think this evidence, you could lock the door, throw away the key. You would think with the narrative and everything that they've said they had on Brian, there would be no risk going to trial. Yet people from the state have said, well, there's no guarantee. It's like, well, you've been telling us this entire time since it's happened. He's literally the most guilty person on planet Earth.
And here's another thing. I don't know that we beat this enough, but Ann Taylor's argument eventually became, so first of all, she was fighting the DNA on the snap in the first place. And they eventually told her, nope, we're not going to allow you to fight the DNA in the crime scene. So she's like, okay, just like this guy's saying, even if the DNA can be proven to be Brian Koberger's, it still doesn't tell you how it got there. And that's the chain of custody. And when Brian Koberger's DNA got on this snap, because as this guy even said, you have a Q-tip with somebody's DNA and you can place that anywhere you want. So if they got a Q-tip with Brian Koberger's DNA, they can hit the knife snap with it and put DNA on it. So you can't argue Brian Koberger's DNA was on the snap. What you can argue is how did it get on the snap? So did somebody place it there? And that's what Ann Taylor said essentially, is that that she was hinting there was planted evidence. And some people say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because the knife sheath was found right away. Who would have had time to know to frame Brian Koberger and plant it there? Well, the question is, when was it planted? Did it sit in a lab, and did somebody transfer the DNA at the lab after they got Koberger's name and said, oh, let's make sure Brian Koberger's DNA is on that thing? You know, that's the question, is when did it become planted evidence?
Well, and look at what Lisa had said earlier. Bill says they don't even have any evidence he was ever in the house. It proves the DNA was transferred or the sheath was planted. That's exactly right. So you're going to stand up at the plea deal and the sentencing and say, and then also the post-sentencing press conference say, we can't put him in the house. So then, Bill, simple question here, my guy. How did the DNA on the sheath get in the house if you can't put Brian Koberger in the house?
Right. How do you maintain both of those with a straight face? Well, we can't put Brian Koberger in the house, but damn it, his DNA was in the house. You freaking double talking SOB. You can't have it both ways. You either can place him in the house because his DNA is there, or you can't place him in the house. And if you say you can't, it tells me they knew the DNA evidence wasn't going to place Koberger in the house. At the end of the day, if that got fought out in trial, it wasn't going to place Brian Koberger in the house. And that's why they're saying we can't place him in the house. They didn't have the smoking gun that everybody think, and everybody's going to go to bed thinking they got him. Oh yeah, they had him. They had his DNA.
Yeah, well, and this has been the $1 million question for everybody that's followed the case, read the documents, and not just been a mainstream parrot. You know, why would he take the plea? Look, it had to have been some sort of legal chess move. Maybe they're waiting for the temperament of the public. I was reading a very interesting article about how if the temperament of the public will change while these documents are released, right? The closer and closer it gets to him having to put an appeal in, if that public temperament has a lot more people, you know, for example, tuning into the Hive or tuning into your show or tuning into other people that are saying, this does not make any sense, right? That could also help for the next trial as far as think of how tainted the jury selection would have been. Think about how cooked he was prior to this trial. You just get one seed of doubt, it can help.
Yeah, and keep in mind this, like I don't believe an appeal is coming. I've said that before, but keep in mind this, when you're talking about the Innocence Project, a lot of convictions get overturned because the DNA proves that it couldn't have been the person that they said it was. So if this DNA is suspicious and someone like the Innocence Project comes in and challenges the DNA on that knife swab and they can't prove Brian Koberger left the DNA there, or there's something wrong with the DNA, it could make a difference in the case, because that's exactly how people get back out of plea deals, because they accepted a plea deal because they were told you're going down, we've got your DNA, and then the Innocence Project comes up and says the DNA was horseshit, and so now all of a sudden the guy could be like, yeah, I only pled guilty because you said you had the DNA, but you don't have the DNA. So, you know, it could be a game changer if the Innocence Project takes it on.
It really could. Now this was interesting. I feel like I've seen this before, but I just thought, like, okay, real, fake, distraction. We've obviously all seen the leaked footage of Brian Koberger just kind of awkwardly meandering around his cell from somebody that recorded the security camera. This person said Michael Koberger mentioned in the record of Brian Koberger, so Michael Koberger's son, death, United States, genealogical bank obituaries, births and marriages, 1980 to 2015. And Brian Koberger, male, 28 years, birth date, 1995, event type, death on 15th of December 2023. I've never seen this before.
No.
This was a Hive Mind find. Victoria had sent it to me, kind of generally asking. She wasn't saying, look at, like, it wasn't anything necessarily that was like, look at what just broke. It was more of like, well, what is this? And I was like, what is that?
You know, I mean, looking at it, to be fair, this is, I mean, I play devil's advocates with shit. Looking at this, it looks like somebody typed this up. You can type whatever the fuck you want and put on there that Brian Koberger died in whatever. So like, is this an official? What shows me this is an official anything? Somebody could have typed that up. So that's where my mind goes, is what's the authenticity of this? What is it? It's not, we don't even know what it is. This is a document. Is this a Word document somebody put together, or is it coming off of an official site? If we don't know the source, how do you hang anything on it? You know?
And I was just kind of confused about all the years. And then but I don't know. Nonetheless, interesting. And
yeah,
I think it validates a high mind find of like, well, what the hell is this?
Right. It's worth asking the question. Right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Victoria, for sending that in. Now, Rachel Butler Butler yesterday. And what I try to do, if you send a super chat that has a question in it and I do not get to it, I screenshot it after the stream and I make sure to do my best to answer it as a hive mind find. So thank you, Rachel, for the super chat. And you had asked, why would a broken refrigerator ruin blood evidence? If that ruined DNA, how do they test decomposed bodies? That's a great question. And full transparency, I didn't know the answer until I did some research on it. So I actually
educate us.
Yeah. So I learned a lot from this. And this is a down here, if I can get this full screen here quick. Oh, you guys won't be able to see it because of the chat. 1 second. Okay. So down here in this picture, you see what it looks like when the DNA within the blood is, I guess what you could say, it's like holding true, right? It's holding true. Or I'm sorry, when it gets broken up. This is when it breaks down. When the DNA breaks down, look at how convoluted and discombobulated it all gets. But then when it remains intact, you can see it continues to be able to be tested. Now, I'm not any DNA expert, but this picture at least cleaned up what I'm about to say over here in my mind. It allowed me to visualize it. So I don't know if what I just explained made sense before I read this, but this does kind of sum up what could go wrong if DNA is not refrigerated. And it says, when it comes to DNA versus refrigeration, a broken refrigerator doesn't instantly ruin DNA, but improper storage accelerates degradation. Blood evidence is best preserved cold, as heat and bacteria speed up DNA breakdown. The biggest killer of blood DNA is when it starts to thaw or cool, and then condensation occurs. Blood would warm up in a closed fridge. Obviously, that doesn't have power. Now, when you look at a body decomp comparison, even in decomposed bodies, DNA can often be recovered from bone, teeth, hair, or tissue remnants. These materials protect DNA better than liquid blood left in a warm fridge. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was a good question. And I just wanted to make sure I got to that.
Education time. That's awesome.
Okay. Devil's advocates. Let's talk about the double standard that literally nobody wants to talk about. Because if you question Dylan or Bethany, you're told you're victim blaming. And if you question Koberger, you're told you're not respecting the victims. So where is the logic and what are we to do? How do you answer that?
There is no logic. That's just it. People are not being rational with this thing. They're parroting what media is telling them how to respond to it. So I don't think people are being super rational with this stuff. I mean, I just, you probably get attacked like I do in the comments from people who are telling you what a horrible human being you are for questioning the narrative.
Not really, actually. I really don't.
Oh, well then you need to come to my channel and enjoy some of my heat.
But I think it's, I genuinely think the reason why is because we're not attacking them. We're literally, I'm showing them with the screen shared. These are their words. These are how their words changed. Right. So all I'm doing is, these are adults. They're not children.
Right.
They're unfortunately not the first and only people to have trauma and tragedy in their lives. Now, it is different because it's high profile. Yes. However, we're not the ones that are putting it out there only. The entire world news and giant corporations are pushing this. So when that gets out there and your story changes and people died and you're an adult, not a child, and somebody says, hey, both of you guys heard stuff. One of you guys saw stuff and you didn't call the cops for 8 hours. And as you continue to get questioned in the interrogation process, you go from, you heard your roommate scream and run up the stairs to, she was dancing with her dog.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
No. No, the shifting there, you read those documents and it becomes clear Dylan's making up the story as she goes. And then she gets, it's very clear to me. She's making the story up. It's like somebody said it's like the Kaiser Sose movie of the Usual Suspects movie, where the guy's just looking around the office and taking things that he's seeing and, I'm going to make a story out of that. It's like that's what I felt like she was doing with the officers during that interrogation. So, or those interrogations.
I do wonder if there was guidance too. I would love to hear the actual audio recordings of those, because tone plays a huge role in how something's said.
Well, you bring up a good point. One of the things when I was looking at the Idaho police reports that have been released, one of the things I made a big deal about it is Dylan immediately lawyered up. Right. So she wanted a lawyer present during her investigation. What you don't see in the transcript is ever a time when the lawyer advises Dylan not to answer that question or whatever. So it's interesting that there's a lawyer present, but we don't see anything in the transcripts that indicates that the lawyer was telling her what to say or not to say at any point at all. So what was that lawyer doing there? I question. Or did they edit the transcripts? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, again, I made another slide in addition to this to help people visualize this, because again, to your point about getting attacked in the comments, well, I mean, I guess people could. I think one of the reasons it'd be hard to argue is I'm showing you what they've said, like I was stating previously. And, I kind of have Homer Simpson backing into the bushes like, okay, wait, maybe there is a little bit of, something sus going on here, because Bryan Kohberger, let's all agree or disagree. If I say anything that is not, what was the term you're using? Factually true or factually innocent in this case, DA, correct me. But Bryan Kohberger has no proven link to the victims, only disputed sheath DNA. True or false?
Yeah, that's true. Right. No link. They said that over and over again.
No chain of custody on evidence, and it was never addressed. That's true or false?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the chain of custody. I haven't heard them argue about the chain of custody, so I can't say whether they, I don't know. But that's my question. The $1 million question.
Have you heard my intro? Have you heard my intro?
Yes,
with
I did.
Taylor?
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm referring to that rather.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. True. Yeah. Yeah.
So as far as at least with the sheath, the chain of custody
Yes.
on IGG, I would say was it ever addressed? It's a secret.
Right.
And
That's what
she
they called it.
railroaded.
They call it. Basically, law enforcement trade secrets.
Correct. All right. Now, I say no contradictions and never gave a statement, still smeared. Obviously, he didn't give a statement, so there really can't be contradictions. But I want to stop and I want to ask the Hive and I want to ask you, has there been a proven contradiction in the story told around Kohberger from what any investigator or the state has shown us? Or has the contradiction rather come from mainstream media sources speculating and having to backpedal?
So this is a hard one, because so I don't know if Kohberger or it was just his attorney tried to establish the alibi that he had gone to Wawa Park to go stargazing that night. Remember, that was the big argument. And Cy Ray was maybe going to corroborate the idea that his cell phone data shows that he was moving away from Moscow, not towards Moscow. And so they're trying to manipulate the data. Someone told me that there's proof that Kohberger's got like a screenshot of the sky with geolocation potentially showing that he was at Wawa Park during the murders. And if that happens, then he's going to walk on this. But I don't know if that's the case. So the point I'm getting to is, did Kohberger ever reverse his statement? I don't know. Is Kohberger's official statement he was in Wawa Park and I guess he's never said he wasn't in Wawa Park. So there's not a reversal. But that's the big $1 million question, I think, is, is he still did he maintain? Or was it just a lawyer speculating that he might have been in Wawa Park, and now are they conceding that, okay, yeah, he wasn't in Wawa Park, our bad, he was in Moscow?
Well, as you're saying that, and I don't mean disrespect, to what you just said, but it's like the news has been the one that the news has muddied the water. So like what I'm saying
Correct.
rather is,
yeah,
we're all talking about this. Well, okay, if you were to just stick to the court documents on Bryan Kohberger, and obviously it's going to be impossible for everybody to have every court document memorized in this case, with it being sealed and then it's not sealed. Now they're just flooding it with the police reports. But rather, I would say, to be safe, he's smeared way more than any contradiction would probably deserve to be smeared thus far, in addition to the evidence.
Right. Right.
And that leads me to the next point. The media painted him guilty from day one. It was a trial by headlines. I don't think there's any argument on that.
Right. No.
Every detail of his life dissected, total demonization. No argument on that one. I think even if you think he's guilty, you would say, well, good, he's a monster. You should demonize him. But that's really what happened. Both of these things happened day one.
Yes. Oh, now, yeah. I mean, yeah. I've had people on my channel that when, you know, Kohberger pled guilty, they said, I could have told you that from day one. The first second they said he was guilty, that he was the suspect, I knew he was the guy. So I'm glad it took you 2.5 years to get to where I already knew from day one. I'm like, well, you're an idiot, because if you haven't watched this case, there was a massive amount of circumstantial evidence and a lot of questions and a lot of better alternative suspects who Hitler wasn't going to allow them to talk about. So good for you that you think you're such a great detective that you had it figured out on day one because the media told you who it was. But it's just asinine. The whole thing's asinine. But
and now I want to again just look at the facts of this for Dylan and Bethany. The 8-hour delay, it's more so rather the contradictions of the mainstream media versus what's shown in the record is what I'm getting at. That's the point of this slide. 8-hour delay before the 911 call. That is excused as trauma. True or false?
Yes.
Contradictory stories across police documents that were never challenged. True or false?
True. Yeah.
DNA everywhere in the house that was ignored.
Yeah. True. True.
Media paints them as heroes and they are shielded from scrutiny.
Yes. True. Yeah.
And families and law enforcement defend them, making them untouchable. I would also add in the NPC mouth breathing fluoridated zombies all over social media. That go after guys like DA or myself for thinking critically.
Yeah.
And probably people in the Hive as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think Sherlock hit the nail on the head. It's just so much more damning. It also, can we address the thing too, that it looks, let's address the fact that it looks more damning because of the state's own words after the sentencing and the hearing on what they did not have on Brian, yet they have these two right here that they've completely excluded the entire time. It hits different once you know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it fundamentally makes no sense to me. The whole fucking thing doesn't make sense to me. How these two, the fundamental question, why didn't the killer kill Dylan as well? Like you're literally, you say, we locked eyes. He looked at me, I looked at him, we saw each other, but he just walked on by. And then later she says in an interview, well, I think maybe the killer knew me and just that only after he's pled guilty. Like,
dude, when we were talking, do you want to share? Because DA and I talked earlier today when he was telling me kind of about the YouTube and the promoting thing. And he was just like, hey, I don't know if you're going to ever try that or do that. Don't do it. It's going to F your account. And then we were just talking about what I had prepped for tonight. And you brought up, you know, theorizing. You were theorizing. I could play the tinfoil hat song if you want. I almost said tinfoil hat thong. No, tinfoil hat song if you want, because I mean, it gets kind of crazy when you think about Dylan saying that, and then Dylan saying, I had this reoccurring dream and I always felt like something like this was going to happen. Yeah.
So I will delve into it because it's your show. It's funny because I didn't want to make a public video on it because I thought I felt it was dark. And that's what I said on my, you know, members only area. I said, this is really dark. And somebody asked me, why do you think it's dark? Well, let me try to be more elaborated on this. Dylan stated that she often had dreams of being kidnapped and that she would just let those things happen. Now, she didn't elaborate on what that means, but it made me think, what is she saying is happening in this thing? She's being kidnapped and what? And she just lets it happen because she knows it's a dream. Someone on my channel even said, yeah, she's absolutely alluding to assault, that she was having dreams of being kidnapped and assaulted in some way. So, and I kind of hinted like, is that a fantasy or is it a dream? Because she didn't even say it was a nightmare. She didn't say I had nightmares. She said she had dreams. Like most people say that's a nightmare, but for her, it's a dream that she just lets happen. Okay, so follow the logic. So then all of a sudden she's saying, I think the killer may have known me and wanted to protect me. That's why he didn't kill me. I about came unglued when I saw that. I'm like, oh, really? You think the killer might have known you? No shit. Like, so, but then this is what I said from a long time ago. Ask yourself these two questions. If Brian Kohberger really is the killer, he really is the guy, And if Dylan thinks that the reason she might have been spared is because she knew the killer, then the $1 million question is, how does Dylan and Brian Koberger know each other? Because it seems like they would have to know each other if those things are true. The killer knew her, and it was Brian Koberger. So now we have to say, is there any proof that Brian Koberger and Dylan knew each other? And as I started to think about it, I thought to myself, there was some weird shit that we saw in the courtroom. Dylan didn't want to look Brian Koberger in the face. She asked Bill Thompson to stand between her and Brian Koberger. Is it possible they had met online, hidden their tracks, and that she had told him that she had these fantasies of maybe, being raped or whatever? I mean, I'm going a little dark here, right? And that she had these fantasies, and this guy's like, hey, I could do something for you. Did he do it for her that night and fulfill some kind of freaky ass fantasy she had? And then she's like, doesn't want to look him in the face, right? She's just like, and so I thought to myself, is that even humanly possible that could have been a scenario that somehow they knew each other? And it made sense, because here's the other jaw dropper. Sorry to take so much time. The other jaw dropper was when the officers asked her in the interrogation, they said, we want to get a buccal swab of you. Somebody's freaking out in the chat saying, no, DA, don't say this. You're ridiculous. But let me try to get past watching that. So they wanted a buccal swab from Dylan, right? And you know what she says? Oh, well, I think you're going to have a hard time finding the DNA of the killer because we cleaned up. And I was like, what did you just say? And the officer says, well, what do you mean you cleaned up? Well, it's like parents' weekend at the college. Yeah. And that's before the murders happened. Oh yeah. It was like, you literally just said, good luck finding the killer's DNA, who probably knows me, because we cleaned up. Oh yeah, wait a minute. We cleaned up before the murders, so I guess that doesn't count. Like, it was the craziest weird thing.
Well, here's my take on that. Do people probably have messed up fantasies? Yes. Do I believe that there's a connection that would be that strong and yet have all of this being sealed and taking as long as it is and all the mystery around it? I don't know. Because while I can't pick and choose and be a hypocrite myself and say, I'm going to believe the state on this, but then not believe the state on that, when it comes to, he didn't know the victims. We looked as hard as we could for a connection. There was nothing. We can't put him in the house. To the point of, was there a connection that they're keeping quiet? Could it be Tinder? Could it be something else? Who knows? But regardless, what you were saying, and in general, what anybody says outside of the narrative ultimately stems from a very simple concept, DA. And it's that people's minds will race and will wonder when they don't get the truth.
Yeah.
On something, again, that I've said a billion times. If this was a straightforward college town murder with a knife in a K-bar, with a knife, and they found the K-bar sheath with DNA on it, and it was a loner criminology student that just transferred there that had no friends, and he stalked the girls and did the whole Nancy Grace thing, we would not see references to national security. We would not have all of this other weird stuff happening. I would argue Hurwitz would never be there, and it would not have gotten that crazy big of press unless it was supposed to have, because something bigger is going on behind the scenes. So
yeah, and I think, again, I know for some people they're thinking what I just went down as a crazy illogical thing, but I'm not sure it's as illogical as you think, because again, if they knew each other, it's possible that explains a lot in the case. It would explain, perhaps, even, again, it's. If maybe they met online and they knew each other online. And again, I hate to go too crazy with this, but if he had never actually been to the house, but Dylan said, hey, I would love this to happen, kind of thing. Here's my address. He would be doing the same thing that Molly McMichaels did that night, which is trying to find the house with a burner phone or whatever. And Google would route him all around the neighborhood, circling the neighborhood, parking him behind the house and walking down to the back door, because that's exactly what Google says to do to go to that house. So it again, and like you said, all of these theories would be unnecessary if they were just open with everything from the very beginning. The reason why we have all these questions and all these crazy conspiracy theories, as they might call them, is because they had to hide everything, and they made people have to start trying to make connect the dots themselves. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. And I think Blue Eyed Candy, thank you so much for the super chat. She said, I don't think she could face it because she knew he was set up, which is also a very logical thought. DM slipped up a lot in her interviews, reading truths in her many untruths. Look, I don't want to discredit the fact, DA, of what you're saying. Like, people are into some weird shit. Let's not let's not disregard that.
It's
People are
a little dark. Yeah.
It is dark. And I mean, again, it's a mystery connection. Who knows what it is? But I do want to quickly touch on this. Now, somebody had sent me a video from a year ago, and it sparked, and I didn't grab whoever's video this is because I'm going to play the entire video on a stream when I'm solo and don't have a guest. But I screen grabbed the documents that they showed because I was like, damn, you kind of forget about these going back and looking back. And in addition to all of this stuff here, what we just talked about as far as a double standard, I want to read some court documents that people may have forgotten about. And I'll put this full screen so you guys can read them yourselves. These are all 3 separate documents, by the way. So the first one says, Mr. Koberger has reasons to be extremely suspicious of the IgG used in this case. Rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him, it appears far more like a lineup where the government was already aware of who they wanted to target. Rather than have the investigation done by someone blind to the fact, the FBI chose to do it themselves. This is akin to the police pulling Mr. Koberger and 5 of his cousins off the street and then pointing at him. And I will pause after each one of those so you can give your thoughts, DA.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this thought is right on that, but let's not forget how this happened. It's not like they got the DNA match and then found out it was Koberger and went after Koberger. They decided it was Koberger first and then made the DNA match him. That cannot be overstated. They already had Koberger's name before they had the match to Koberger, and not the other way around. So that's big.
Yep. They did it. They did it in the reverse order. The second one says Mr. Koberger finds himself in a similar position as Mr. Arteaga. A massive investigation came to focus on him and him alone. The state appears to be trying to hide its original domino such that he cannot discover why. Mr. Koberger has a right to discover and question the investigation that led to him. This court should find so.
100%. That's the thing. You have the right to challenge the evidence against you. And Hitler was trying to say somehow that the government didn't have to prove how they got Koberger's DNA. You know what? It's irrelevant. We don't intend to show that in court. Well, you used it for the PCA, for the probable cause affidavit to get the arrest, and you used all these things. He has the right to challenge every single piece of evidence against him. And they were trying to say, hey, we're going to use this against you, but you don't have the right to challenge it. And that's illegal. That's a violation of his constitutional rights. And I realize if you think he's a criminal, you don't care that he has constitutional rights. But unfortunately, that's my thing. I don't care if you're a criminal or not. Let's uphold the Constitution in this country and do things by the law and not like violate all your freaking civil liberties because you want to get the bad guy.
I completely agree. You're innocent until proven guilty. It's cliche and it's corny, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You're innocent until you're proven guilty. And now this last document says the state, this one's kind of funny. The state apparently thinks that they need not explain how they came to think that it was Mr. Koberger's DNA on the sheath. Presumably, the defense is expected to accept at face value that the sheath had touched DNA just waiting for testing by all the FBI's myriad source resources. Additionally, the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Koberger via a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment or through its faulty identification of the vehicle involved in this case. And these documents, bro, they hit way different when you go back and you reread what Ann Taylor was saying back then. It's unbelievable.
In my opinion, if it had been a fair trial, Ann Taylor would have been able to bring up the 4 alternative suspects that Hitler said she couldn't talk about. She would have been able to bring them up. And here's how it would have happened. They would have challenged the DNA evidence, and they would have challenged how they obtained it and developed the DNA profile, and they would have challenged that car identification. Those 2 things are highly, highly debatable and would have led juries to wonder, I'm not sure how good that is. And if you're not sure how good that is, then you have to go, well, then who else could have done it? And that's where the alternative suspects come in. This person had a motive. This person had a motive. This person had motive and opportunity. This person knew the house. And so denying him all of that, denying him to be able to challenge the evidence and telling him he can't bring alternative suspects is just a travesty. It's that should have happened in court, and them not having a trial now let them avoid that whole mess that they were in, which was, a jury would have probably started to question the DNA, and they would have started to question the identification of the car, and it would have left them with, well, then who else could have done it? And then the list would come in and you'd have reasonable doubt.
I totally agree. And again, everybody, the stream is not over. I'm doing this for when I do the quick editing purposes, just because it's the next slide in the deck. And I am going to move on to the tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. And it's not, this image needs to load here. Hopefully it does. Let me go back to it here. Some people have probably heard of this conspiracy. Others may not have. But the tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day is, who is the biggest glitter buyer in the world? Do you know, DA? Has anybody heard of this?
No.
Okay. This is one of the weirdest stories ever. In 2018, the New York Times interviewed GlitterX. It's one of the world's largest glitter producers. The reporter asked a seemingly simple question. Quote, who is your biggest customer? The GlitterX spokesperson answer was chilling. Oh, I can't tell you that. When pressed, they explained, you'd never guess it. It's something you would never think of. And if you knew, you would never look at glitter the same way again.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. What is it?
What does that mean, bro?
I don't know.
That is kind of chilling when you think of like how harmless glitter seems to be. But a GlitterX spokesperson's like, I can't tell you. You'll never look at it the same.
You don't want to know. What the hell is that?
I researched a couple of popular theories around. I went on Reddit looking this up to see who the most popular theories are about the quote secret buyer. A lot of people said it's the military for camouflage and stealth technology for disrupting radar, thermal, and optical detection. Others thought that it was for currency and documents, so it's a security layer to prevent counterfeiting. And then a lot of other people were saying it's the car industry for automotive paint.
Even so, why would any of those freak somebody out and make them never look at glitter the same again? That's the part that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. One of the rather disturbing ones was also popular was like, it's in the food. Like a lot of glitters like in food, and it's like a filler.
That would be it. That'd be like
I mean?
you'd never look at glitter the same kind of thing. Yeah.
So I have no idea, but I just thought that one was interesting because I've heard of that, but I had no idea that it stemmed from the New York Times reporter asking a very harmless question of who's your biggest buyer, and they're like, "Oh, I can't
tell you that. I can't tell you.
You'll never look at glitter the same."
What the hell is that?
Oh man!
Now I have something to do in my spare time. I don't have any fucking spare time.
Yeah.
If I did, I want to know why I don't want to know about glitter, because now I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, so what I want to do now is I want to make sure, DA, that while we're here and we have both of us and we can kind of riff off of each other, I want to ask the Hive just for any questions that it might have for you or I regarding some of the newer documents. I know you did a deep dive into the first batch, and it sounds like you're doing another deep dive into these.
Yeah. I did 19 hours on the first batch of Moscow Police Department. Now I'm 55 pages into the 600 pages, and it's taken me like 3 hours to do that. Yeah.
Well, and I think, have you found common themes of contradiction?
I mean, I don't know if that's the best. Yeah, I mean, the common theme of contradiction is Dylan's story is still horseshit, and it's even worse than I thought. Dylan and Bethany are even more suspicious than I thought. And by the way, as a side tangent, I can't get out of my head. It even came out from Patterson's book that he wrote that he knew some people that were on the grand jury, and the grand jury that we don't get to see happened in private. The grand jury thought Bethany and Dylan should be investigated and possibly go to jail for what happened. So even the grand jury didn't buy the girl's statement. And now that we're seeing what the girl's statement is, that has consistently been a problem, always has been a problem. And the grand jury thought those girls should be investigated. Why are they not? Why are we raising $100,000 for Dylan's emotional support when the grand jury thought she should be investigated, maybe be in jail?
Sorry, I just got caught off guard by Annie and Normie saying, my husband worked for a chemical warehouse. They put fragrances in things like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. I wouldn't be surprised if you would have known about it. You should ask your husband who the hell is buying all the glitter. But see, I don't want to, because I could go down a rabbit hole on
I could too.
Gross and disgusting our food is, bro. And like there's certain companies that you can't call their meat. It's very popular chain fast food restaurants. I think I brought this up. You've heard about the McDonald's meat conspiracy, I'm sure.
I have, yeah.
It makes me want to puke. I don't even like to say it. People, I don't want to ruin it for everybody. Don't look it up if you like McDonald's. I haven't eaten it since.
Yeah.
Oh man. But man, yeah, everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Jerry's like, please don't.
I just want to live in my little world. Don't take that away from me. Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought was very interesting is the difference in what that house was described as and shown on body cam footage leading up to these murders compared to that night, right? So it's known as this loud, rowdy party house. You can hear the music playing at all times of the night.
Yeah.
Now, this night, it was quiet. I don't know if on any of the Linda Lane footage, we hear one college type of sound.
Yeah.
You just hear a parking lot, like a normal parking lot where, and I'm not saying that I would expect to hear a ton of music or a ton of this, but it's like, where is everybody? You can say, oh, they're home for break or whatever it is. That probably could be true. It's close to Thanksgiving, but there's a lot of Greek life events that weekend. Like, where is everybody?
I don't want to, I say this, I don't want to get all crazy conspiracy theory, but you have to ask questions. If it was a party house and it was used to being noisy at night, did somebody drug everybody in that house? Was everybody overly intoxicated because they had been drugged because something was coming and they wanted everybody like super pacified? Is that why there wasn't as much going on? It's like, let me say this right now. I have zero reason to believe what I just said, but it's a question you have to ask yourself. Why was that night particularly quiet? If it was used to be in a party house and everybody's up, why was everybody so shit-faced hammered that night that it was unusual for everybody to be in bed that early? The whole thing, just a million questions, which again leads down to if they hadn't have been so secretive about the damn thing, we wouldn't be having all these questions.
Yeah. And Hive, I just tried to type something into the chat, and for whatever reason, my own chat got blocked. That's odd. But I was saying, type your guys' theories and thoughts on who and why, and I'll put some up on the screen, and we'll see if we can get DA going tonight. Like I said, I'll replay this song for you, DA, so you can just let her rip.
Please retrieve your nearest tinfoil hat. Place hat firmly on your head. Prepare yourself.
Because I need to send you a tinfoil hat, DA. Maybe that'll help.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when you started to have one that night, the first time I met you, I think you put on a tinfoil hat, and I told my wife, said, I got to get one. She goes, you can't copy Birdie on everything he does. And I'm like, all right, I'll not get the tinfoil hat.
You can wear it on Monday nights, bro. And hey, I don't ever get tripped up on that type of stuff. Genuinely. Like I've always said to you, I don't care who, if I, break something or if I connect something, kind of like how you and I met when I was talking about the funding and then other stuff. I'm here to get the word out, to again declare warfare against the narrative and get people to wake up. That's my passion. That's my interest. Right. And do I look into stuff? Yes. Do I read the documents? Yes. Do I connect the dots? Yes. But I'd rather as a people and as a collective, we win. Like I want nothing more than to see these clown punchers that are in a suit on TV have to eat their words for the last 2 years plus on this case. I want to hear the retraction. I want to. I want to see, because not that a murderer is getting off, everybody. Don't get it twisted. No, because what they are doing and what they've been doing to us is effing everything up in our world. The media and the media alone has the power to control everything. And they do. And they know they do. And then they shut down the people who ask for the truth. So I got to tell you, I'm going to make a promise. Watch. I'm going to make a promise so that a whole bunch of people can hold me accountable. And I know this is before your time, but Saturday Night Live used to have a skit called The Church Lady,
and the church lady would have the superior dance, and it was Dana Carvey with the wig on looking at a woman, and she would be like a little church lady, and every time that she would smugly prove somebody wrong, she would do the superior dance, and she would just like dance around. I swear to you, if anything happens and this case gets reversed and it comes out that somebody else did it, I will put on a dress, a wig, and I will do the superior dance on fucking camera. I will do the superior dance. Yeah, now you have to be old. You have to go back and watch Saturday Night Live to get it. I will freaking do it. I will be in a dress with a wig on, and I will do the superior dance like you wouldn't believe on camera.
Hey,
Anyway.
Some people think you're already wearing lipstick. So
I know. What is that? It's a cat. I don't know.
it's Hot Wings. It's Hot Wings, right?
It was Hot Wings. Yes, it was.
Oh man, that's funny. I mean, dude. So Sherlock asked, DA, what's your thoughts on DM using the firecracker as a way to explain away seeing a firefighter that night? What do firecrackers have anything to do with firemen? Well, they have the same first.
Right. Well, the fire isn't the word, dumbass. No, just kidding. I mean, yes, I thought the same thing you did. Is like, what the fuck does a firecracker have to do with the fireman? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I agree. Dumbest thing. I was like, I have no idea where her head was at on that, other than like the story's being made up. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, no. I didn't say fireman. I said firecracker.
Cracker.
Like, dude, like I said, last night I was talking about if I was a detective watching through the two-way glass and I saw somebody, if I saw you interrogating Dylan and I heard the things that were being said and I've seen the progression of it, I would go in there and I would say, hey, DA, can I have a word with you out here? And I would say, you're going to take this breathalyzer test and I'm going to see if you're drunk right now on the job, because I don't know if you're hearing what I'm hearing, but none of this is raising a red flag for you. That's
right. Yeah. And you should. It's and to be fair, the Idaho State Police, I think more so than Moscow, the Idaho State Police did seem to not buy Dylan's story. That's what I get. Reading through between the lines, they continually ask her, well, wait a minute. What do you mean cleaned up? I thought the cleanup would have to be, they didn't, I don't think that if you look carefully, Idaho wasn't buying Dylan's story, in my opinion.
Dude. Tiny. Your username might be tiny, but you're getting the big top dog award tonight. That is, you want to talk about a thought process that my mind absolutely gets off on is, see, that's the type of thinking that I absolutely love. Perhaps DM's GoFundMe is money in fear of legal trouble now that the gag is lifted and docs will be released. And of course you would do that prior to any of this coming out. Dog.
Yeah. It's funny too, by the way, as an aside, not to divert from the issue raising money for a potential legal thing, but isn't it funny how she doesn't want any attention on her and everybody's shaming her to talk about her, but she doesn't mind being center stage as everybody gives her $100,000 to help with her grief. Like, everybody look at me. I need money for my grief. That's okay. But don't question my story and my narrative and all the things that I said inconsistent to the police officers. That's just horrible of you to even talk about.
And again, dude, we don't know her. We don't know any of them. But what we do know is that people are dead, and I don't, and a lot of people don't feel like the right person from our society, meaning the people, is in jail. And It's kind of scary to think about. Yeah.
And again, at the end of the day, I feel like Koberger, if he was involved, and I get it, it's hard to say it's hard to say the word if. The guy pled guilty, right? So how do you say if anymore? He pled guilty. But I don't think it's cut and dry, right? And if other people were involved, I say it a million times, it makes me sick to my stomach to think that people are going to walk free and possibly be celebrated as heroes that were involved in the murders that night. That's the part that pisses me off the most, is the idea that people will be celebrated for being involved in that murder that night.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You've said that a couple of times, and
yeah, it just bugs me.
Aaron, welcome to the Hive. Aaron says she's joining her first live. Well, thank you for being here.
I love when people get their first live. Yeah,
Heidi says I'm honored. Thank you.
It was
said,
pretty epic.
I mean, that's literally the. See, that's when I say, "Hey, everybody, this is a contrarian thinking live stream. If you can't think beyond the headlines and you're going to get offended on behalf of somebody else, this is like you should probably just not tune in unless you want to trigger yourself or get triggered by us. Rather, because that's a chess move, what Tiny just talked about. That could be a lawyer's chess move. How are you going to pay for this? We just were talking about the public narrative for what now when these documents gets released, with the public sentiment towards Brian Koberger being so guilty. And that's the same way for them prior to this coming out. They have the public sentiment of victims, survivors. And it's not to say that maybe they're not. Maybe they are not guilty. Maybe they really are just always having the weirdest shit happen that looks guilty. I can also wrap my head around that, everybody. But it doesn't seem like they were investigated. And it seems like Brian Koberger was laser sighted in from day one. So that's what makes it sus.
And there was other people. Showalter is a good example. There were other people who had high connections, people that in their family that were highly connected and high up in the community. And does that explain why certain people's children were never investigated? Because it's like, hey, don't worry, we're not going to let any kind of suspicion fall on them. We got this, we're just going to, because they're too important to the community kind of thing. And I've always wondered if some of these kids who had lawyers in their family or district attorneys potentially in their family or whatever, was there some kind of incentive to look the other way and not question their story too much because of who they were connected to?
Very well could be. And Haiku Bandit, was that a video game back in the day?
I don't know.
I feel like it was. Sounds familiar. Thank you for the super chat. Early on, didn't they report there was another roommate or someone else that was supposed to be there that night? And
yes.
That they, for some reason, wasn't there. Yeah, they did.
Yes.
And it actually, I completely lost my mind when I turned on the Dateline documentary, and I believe it was that roommate's mother that was asked by Keith, why did they do this? Mm-hmm. And that roommate who wasn't there, her mother said, because they're beautiful. I looked at my wife and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to fucking watch this, babe. I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like that was
is that how this is gonna start? Is that how this is gonna start? Yeah. They were beautiful. Yeah. No, yeah, Ashlyn Couch, I think, is who you're talking about, because she originally signed the lease to the she was one of the 6 signatures on the house. And then quickly, I think the story goes is that she decided that she wanted to live somewhere else after she signed the lease. And so she didn't actually stay there. But then like you said, this Dateline NBC piece, or was it Dateline or was it the Amazon Prime one? Anyways, I think it was the Amazon Prime. It was, yeah, it was the, oh, was it?
Yeah.
Came out with this idea that, oh, my daughter was almost there that night. She was supposed to be there. She narrowly died, and it made really great TV, but she wasn't even staying there. So I don't know if I buy the whole story, but it made great TV. So
now Blue Eyed Candy says that DM was using experts from that Vampire Diaries episode they were watching that night. Now, I've got a couple super interesting, and thank you for the super chat, Blue Eyed Candy. You rock.
I got comments on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I've gotten a couple interesting emails about how the friend stated that they were in the living room watching this.
Yeah.
So now you have to question and do kind of some mental gymnastics of, well, did Dylan make her way to her bedroom and turn on that movie or that show where they left off? And she felt like, how does this work?
Let me make sure, for those who don't understand, the officers asking questions about Vampire Diaries, they asked her, because this is detective work. This is how it works. And a lot of you may know this, but some of you might not. So let me make sure you understand. The officers asked her what happened in the episode you watched on Vampire Diaries. They do that to establish a person's alibi. If you say you're watching Vampire Diaries, I want you to tell me what happened in the episode, and then I will go check the airing schedule that night, and I will prove that episode of Vampire Diaries did indeed air at the time you said it did, and when you were watching it. That's part of checking out somebody's alibi. Now, here's what's interesting about that. What's not clear from the documents is whether or not Dylan accurately depicted what happened in the episode she was watching so that they could verify it was the episode. But what's interesting is if she did, funny how Dylan's memory can be so good about what episode she was watching of Vampire Diaries, but she can't remember whether or not Xana was passed out drunk or in a pool of blood. She can't remember whether the killer had bushy eyebrows or maybe not. Maybe he didn't. Like, how can you not remember all the other things, which you can remember details about what episode of the Vampire Diaries you're watching? So I don't know. We never got to find out whether they verified her story and confirmed that she knew enough about the Vampire Diaries episode.
It's interesting because, again, on the simplest level of reasoning. Nobody is saying it's unreasonable that you would be frozen in shock if you saw a masked man in your house after hearing your roommate scream that somebody's in the house and run upstairs. Nobody's going to say that that's unreasonable.
Right.
But when the documents and then what gets pushed into the mainstream media and we don't see the documents that say you originally heard Kaylee scream, well, now we're left looking like a-holes because you were saying, and what the news were saying or was saying was actually like your last statement of you thought it was Kaylee playing with her dog. So that's just, it completely changes any temperament of suspect activity of, wow, frozen in shock. See, if you would have just released the first one, it could have made people reason with it more. But it's like, you're going to equate playing with a dog to 4 people arguably being shot and then stabbed. Like, what?
Yes. At the end of the day, the story makes no sense. The survivors' stories make no sense, and everybody in America knows it. And yet here we are, raising money for them. Or for one, what's with Bethany? She's like completely ghosted. We don't hear nothing, right? I mean,
I've always wondered about that. And you're not hearing a lot about Maddie either.
Yeah.
Really, everything kind of has switched to Kaylee and DM.
Well, and that's what I lost my. It's funny that you mentioned it because I kind of went the other way with it. When this first came out, it's clear to me from the Moscow PD documents and the Idaho Police Department documents that they thought Kaylee was the target. All their questions are about who's Kaylee sleeping with, what about the ex-boyfriend, what about Kaylee and the money, where did she get her money from? It was all Kaylee. And they told the press, this was a targeted event. We believe it was targeted after somebody individual. And that individual, in my opinion, was Kaylee, and it always was from the very beginning. And at some point, the narrative changed, and they got the story that maybe Brian Koberger went to the Mad Greek restaurant and became obsessed with Maddie. And when that happened, I said, where the fuck did Maddie's name come in this? This has always been about Kaylee. Now all of a sudden, and they tried to make it so we never talked about Kaylee anymore. It was always Maddie. Okay, he was obsessed with Maddie. And Kaylee just happened to walk in on it, and he got mad because he got interrupted trying to rape Kaylee or Maddie. Like, when did that story change? It always was about Kaylee in the beginning, and all of a sudden somebody came along and changed the entire narrative to make it about Maddie.
It did. It's kind of flip-flop because then also when these new documents got released right away, I was like, oh no, Xana had the 50 stab wounds, not Kaylee.
Right.
This is interesting from Chris. Chris said the Range Rover has video motion detection. Where's that footage? That should be on KG's phone. Well, obviously a lot of newer cars are going to have that kind of the Bluetooth enabled stuff. There's from the lawyer, he was talking to some FBI guy or ex-FBI guy that talked about using some Bluetooth tech to solve a super important case. And I think it was rather obvious he was talking about the Idaho 4 case, but it's a great point. I mean, I do wonder what other cameras have been completely buried. I mean, right. I don't know about you, DA, but if you go on a jog in a neighborhood or if you walk around an apartment complex, you're going to see more houses with a Ring camera than not.
Yeah.
Even in a college town, even in an apartment complex. I mean, it's very common now, especially with Amazon deliveries and all the stuff that's delivered right to your door. It's almost weirder if you don't have that.
Right. And to be fair, and this is the part where to be fair, I've always said at the end of the day, in my opinion, and I don't think a lot of people in law will agree with this statement, at the end of the day, the prosecution's job is to get a conviction, and the defense's job is to get an acquittal or get their person off. And neither side, I've said this before, and it's not popular with attorneys, neither side really gives a shit what really happened. Their job is to make the best case they can to get the conviction or to get the best case they can to get the acquittal. And so when you have things like a camera that comes along with motion detection that might indicate somebody other than Koberger was there, you just try to make sure that doesn't get into court. Your job is to make sure nobody asks that question, nobody looks into it, maybe delete the footage, because it would just confuse things. It'll just muddy the waters. You're looking for a conviction. And so anything that doesn't support the story that you're building, you fight like hell if you're the prosecution to make sure that never comes into court. And so you hide it from discovery. You do whatever you can. So those kind of games happen because they don't care about what really happened. They care about making their case. I'm making a case against Kohberger. Anything that doesn't support that must go away, or we're going to fight it or try to hide it or whatever, so that we can make our best case.
And I just saw somebody put in the chat, and it flew by, talking about the steps being analyzed from their phone, or if they had an Apple Watch, assuming everybody can remember how critical that was in the Karen Reed case, right? Now, my question is, and what just blows my mind, DA, is how many people were on the Karen Reed is innocent train that will sucker punch you for saying Brian Kohberger might be innocent?
Right.
I don't understand it, because I've said this, and I want to make sure that I say this clearly, not to get it confused with thinking that Karen Reed's not innocent. I'm saying on paper, no names attached to it. If you look at those cases, who do you find that's more likely to be guilty?
Yeah.
The Karen Reed one, where there's taillight from her vehicle at the house, voicemails where she's screaming, like all this stuff, or Kohberger, no connections,
Can't place him there.
Can't place him there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of trace DNA.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just trying to make the comparison of what would be on paper, and then show how imperative that narrative of the internet running with Karen Reed being innocent made a huge difference.
100%. The media shapes public opinion, and we try people in the court of public opinion before they ever have their first day in trial. It happens all the time.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I just saw a couple people that are like, "Are you serious, Bertie?" No. And I'm like, I mean, I didn't follow the Karen Reed case nearly as close as I followed this case, but I followed it close enough to know that there was a couple points where I'm like, huh. I mean, that is a little bit weird. But then you see the corruption, and I've always said, and I think you've echoed this too, DA. I'm curious what the Hive's going to think about this too, but it's like, if you committed a crime, but the cops violated your rights to catch you, should you walk free?
And here's the thing. America actually does not like police corruption. And when they see police corruption, they start feeling like, fuck it, the criminals should walk. Because what a lot of us can't stand more is crooked cops. And so it's played into a lot of cases where if the defense can show that the law enforcement's playing dirty pool, people will start to think, just like you said, they'll start to question, maybe it's okay for the bad guy to walk, because I'd rather have that bad guy walk than corrupt cops getting away with shit all the time. Because that we trust those people. We trust those people with our lives. We trust those people to make the right decisions. And when you find that they're corrupt, it's almost like, make a statement. Let somebody walk who did something. Make a statement. Law enforcement can't do that bullshit. So
can anybody think of a case like that? I mean, the first one that pops in my mind is OJ, but then,
right,
again,
that was mine
rabbit
too.
hole of saying that there's an argument to be made. It was his son, and OJ took the fall for it publicly.
Yeah.
But we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. I will say, though, off the top of my head, I can't think of a case where somebody very obviously walked that was guilty where there wasn't some sort of law enforcement corruption. If somebody walks in a high-profile case, it's typically because law enforcement corruption gets put on blast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people get pissed about that.
Absolutely.
Rightfully so.
And I'm glad that people are incensed when law enforcement does things illegal and are get angry. That's the only thing that I have hope for, is because that's my big focus of my channel, is calling out that, hey, I said it a million times. I don't have a dog in the fight with the Kohberger. If he did it, then he should go away. He should pay the penance. But let's not have corrupt cops. Let's not have corrupt prosecution. Let's not have a whole corrupt system, because all those people should be going to jail as well. Let's hold everybody accountable. So
I see a lot of people typing in Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
That was what, 2010, 2011 when she was acquitted ish.
Yeah.
I think it was like early 2010s. And yeah, I think exactly that. Full transparency and accountability. I think, ooh, that's interesting. Trey Perky says a judge in New Orleans just got busted for rigging trials.
There's corrupt judges a lot. There's a lot of corrupt judges. There was, in this case, in the Koberger case, there was a connection between Koberger and a corrupt case against putting juveniles in jail for money. And those judges got busted. There's a lot of corrupt judges.
I'm curious about that.
Looking it up on the fly. Bernie's going on the fly. This is what you do.
I wanted to see that. I just kind of wanted to see that because what is that? So it says that a former criminal defense lawyer elected on a progressive platform, Campbell has handled large number of judge trials in the last 3 years with 48 trials and 38 ending in not guilty. But I took a look at crimes of violence. These are going to be felony crimes of violence, and her acquittal rate is 93%. This includes a case where a man was accused of bringing contraband into the jail and caught on video doing it, yet was found not guilty. Okay, Christ. Just asking to get caught at that point. But
here's the thing, though. I don't mean to side tangent, but your show is the place for this. AI is getting fantastic. And I've said this before. I told my wife, we're getting to the point where you're going to go to trial and someone's going to say, well, we know you did the murder. We've got you on camera doing it. And they'll be like, that's AI. That wasn't fucking me. Prove it was me. Because you could you could put me anywhere you want to. In fact, will law enforcement get to the point that they can put their guy at any crime scene by just AI picturing? Make a video of me with AI of this person walking into the building at this time. Done. And it's getting so good, you and I would not be able to. Once it gets a little bit better, nobody's going to be able to tell the difference between an AI video and what really happened. So then, can we even believe our eyes when we see somebody committing a crime right in front of our face? If it's on camera, can we even trust that really happened? Because it might be just really good AI.
That's absolutely true. Patricia brings up Stephen Avery. I know that obviously from
that's a great show.
Growing up in Wisconsin, and my parents back in the day had remembered this happening. Now, if you've seen Making a Murderer, you obviously know Stephen Avery was wrongfully convicted of sexual assault or rape and got out after 18 years. Huge lawsuit pending against that. I believe it was Manitowoc? I believe it was Manitowoc Police Department. Now, there's rumors that lawsuit would have bankrupted that police department completely.
Right.
Now, my question is, did somebody set up Stephen Avery for a cut of what money they would save by not having that lawsuit for when he then got accused again? And then you look at Brennan Dassey and that interrogation. It's just hard to watch.
That's hard. Yeah.
And then you look at just the odd timing of all of this key evidence showing up. I mean, I can't help to think, was it somebody on Stephen's team that set him up? I mean, because that's the safer move. If you were going to, now I have my tinfoil hat on, but if you were going to set up Stephen Avery, you would rather have it be somebody on the defense team who they would never expect. It'd be too obvious to come from the state or from the cops. So can you get somebody on the defense team or somebody who's completely not involved in the legal aspects of it? Maybe somebody in his family to go and put shit there.
If you guys out there haven't seen that series, How to Make a Murderer, I think is what it was called, with Stephen Avery, what a fantastic what a fantastic documentary. Every one ends with a cliffhanger where you're about to throw your fucking remote through the TV. What the hell did you just say? They drop a bomb on you at the end. Like, you're just like, what? Like, how is it? It's a great story. It's a great
I like Luna's comment here. She goes, they just set him up because they hated his ass. I mean,
that's true. I think that's true. They just hated that dude.
They did. They hated him.
He cost them a lot of money, and they're like, we're going to get your ass, and they did. They did get him.
Yeah. Well, DA, I appreciate you hopping up here this evening. I think we dove into a lot of interesting topics. The thing that I'm very, very, very glad that people in the Hive and yourself can wrap your head around, DA, is kind of, again, what I themed this entire stream around is the truth doesn't care about feelings. And you shouldn't be afraid of victim blaming or victim shaming or whatever label that they want to put on it when there are two adults that saw stuff, they heard stuff, and they didn't do anything for 8 hours, all in addition to their statements going from hearing a roommate scream run up the stairs, hearing a firecracker and seeing a sparkler type of light under their door, and then seeing a roommate laying in the doorway and not doing it, also coming face to face with a killer, seeing his bushy eyebrows, unable to identify Brian Koberger from those bushy eyebrows, and then saying, I felt like that person was there to protect me. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Let's call a spade in this. That's
Right.
weird.
Right. 100%. I want to, by the way, tease something to the audience that's
Yeah.
going to sound like it's just me, but it's going to include you as well for those who are fans of the
Oh, yeah,
Hive, right? Because
This
you're
is dope.
right. Here's the thing. I've got a really, really big break kind of for me in an interview coming up with John Ray, who represented the families of Shannon Gilbert, who disappeared in the Long Island serial killer case. There are huge things coming for the channel, and Birdie is going to get involved in that, and he's going to be involved with that. So we're going to keep it a little in the down low, I think, tonight, maybe Birdie. But Birdie and I are working on some things. You don't want to miss it. When John Ray comes on with the interview, trust me, you're going to want to be on it. And I think, Birdie, you're planning on getting into the Long Island stuff, I hope, with me, because it's going to be huge next year. And so if you guys are fans of Birdie, he's going for that ride, I think, with us.
Yeah, no, I absolutely am. And thank you so much for bringing me onto that, because you kind of downplayed it a little bit, how cool it's going to be and what we have planned as far as, it's kind of a 2-phase thing where, well, I'll leave it at that. It's going to be epic, Hive. And so, Hive, as you're on your way out, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Like I said, I keep all of the streams free. The Discord's free. Same thing with DA. Subscribing to the channel is the best way to support it. Send it to your friend who is an NPC that believes everything the mainstream media says and completely red pill them. There's no refunds on that red pill.
Yeah, let me ask one more favor from your audience.
Yep.
You guys heard at the beginning, if you were here at the beginning, I don't know if you were, I broke my YouTube channel because of a stupid glitch of trying to promote a video. And my video, they're not putting me out on organic, they're not showing me to anybody new. So if you're brand new to me and you kind of dig what I'm about, would you please go check me out and give me a like? Because right now, YouTube is not showing my videos to anybody new. The only people who are seeing me are people who already know about me. So if you see me for the first time, you do me a tremendous thing to help that algorithm get started again for our channel by going and liking my channel and subscribing my channel. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish with this comment, because one more clown horn for the road for Joe, who's saying that, so what? They didn't call the cops when you think they should have. Stopped acting like there's some kind of giant conspiracy when you have zero facts to support that. The evidence says BK acted alone. Well, Joe, I hope you have a great night, man. And I go live every night at 7 p.m. Central if you want to tune in to see how that comment was awarded the clown horn. But I guess to wrap up the stream, DA, thank you so much. Thank you for teasing that out there. Hive, thank you so much for the engagement, for the awesome comments, for the awesome Hive Mind finds. Please do not forget that this Hive Mind Roundtable is open. I'm closing that on Thursday. So if you want to be in it, send me an email. Put the subject line as Hive Mind Roundtable. I will be back on tomorrow evening at 7 Central. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, DA.
Later.
Yep.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new